Mtazamaji, naambiwa sasa tupate taarifa kutoka Tume ya Uwiano na Utangamano nchio. Tume ya Utangamano na Uwiano nchini, ambapo hii leo wanafanya kikao kuhusiana na shughuli nzima ya kitaifa. Je, tupate nini kinajiri pale? Tupate kusikia mwenyekiti.
In the harshest terms possible. Such acts not only disturb the peace but also create a worry that tensions may escalate into religious conflict and even into ethnic profiling and also into hate speech. We were also further appalled by the actions of some who invaded private property in the name of settling age-old land rights issues that have dogged our country since before independence. The senseless destruction of property is an outright illegal action which can only lead to more acrimony. We know that what has happened is the situation, the prevailing environment in the country has created space for opportunistic criminals to do their criminal activities. As the adage goes, an eye for an eye makes a community blind, and this adage will soon become true if we continue this path of taking the law into the hands of civilians. It is also to be realized that there is no one with the monopoly of monopolizing violence. Because violence, we know, can even be purchased. And if that is the case, anyone thinking that they are the only ones who can purchase violence must know that others can do the same. And that is why we say that this adage of an eye for an eye leads the community to be blind. Anarchy is not justified no matter the grievance we may have. Our courts and our laws exist to ensure justice is served to all Kenyans without fear or favor. Taking the law into our own hands is a recipe for utter chaos. We as NCIC call for an immediate stop to these demonstrations and counter demonstrations and the adoption of dialogue as a means of moving our country forward is what should be taken. This is the option which is available, and it is this option of dialogue that we as NCIC advocate for. There are indeed deep issues we need to address, from the cost of living to the grinding poverty to structural inequalities, and indeed even to issues of land ownership and equity. We can't solve these issues by shouting at each other and destroying the property. However, we can solve them by doing what even God says in Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 18, "Come, let us reason together, says the Lord." We call on the leadership of the political divines to come together, to talk with each other and address these issues in a sober and judicious manner. And in so doing, then put the interest of Kenya first and be mindful of the needs and aspirations of Wanjiku. We have seen that in the activities that have been mobilized and that are politically based, it seems like Wanjiku has been forgotten. And that is why we feel that putting the interests of Kenya first before the political interests and being mindful of the needs of the ordinary Kenyans who have been toiling and eking a living, who had voted, they did their part, and now to be mobilized again to situations that could cause violence is totally unacceptable. Let us stop violence and instead talk with each other, also as Kenyans, as brothers and sisters, and not as enemies. It is true that, and we are calling on the political leaders to come together and talk with each other, reason together, but also we want to say that Kenyans have a responsibility. And that is why we feel that even as NCIC, we will be initiating national conversations on the pressing issues on the table, on the issues of the cost of living, because Kenyans also have views on that. And therefore, we will be providing spaces and platforms as NCIC so that we can have national conversations on the cost of living and its implications for peace and cohesion and harmonious living. Thank you.
Huyo alikuwa mwenyekiti wa Tume ya Uwiano na Utangamano nchini Samuel Kobia akiongea kuhusu hali ya taifa kufuatia zile vurugu ambazo zimeonekana hapo jana, akiwataka tu baadhi ya viongozi wa kisiasa kuongea na kuwa na mjadala. Aidha amesema kuwa kuna haja ya maridhiano kati ya pande zote mbili, kati ya Kenya Kwanza na muungano wa Azimio la Umoja. Ni taarifa ambayo tutakuwa tu nalifuatilia mtazamaji, na tutakuwa tu nakuletea hapo baadaye.